Ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host for today's race, Insanely Air 13. I want to welcome you to the third round of the fifth season of OSRL here as we prepare to tackle the first points-paying road course race of the season here at Watkins, Glen. Ladies and gentlemen, last two races were on high-banked ovals in the state of Florida. Relatively similar conditions in both of them. Radically different finishing results from both, and it's given us an interesting scenario in the points. But today, we're going to start seeing the season as it's going to normally be. The majority of the races over the course of the season here are on road course events. A lot of drivers here with specialize in road course racing are likely going to try and recover some ground that has been lost in the championship fight starting today, but there are some people who have eked out not a great but a small positive result when it comes to the championship fight as it is right now. Real quickly as we go ahead and bring up the points as they are right now after the end of the last race from the bottom to the top. 25th in the championship is TMS Bum Drop with 2 points. 24th is Aidman 2005 with 10 points. 23rd is Oof Serena with 10 points as well. 22nd is Uber Nuts with 25 points. 21st is Prius Killer with 26. 20th in the championship point standings is Tire Bearer with 31 points. Coco Gamer is 19th with 61 points. 18th is OTR Popping with 70. He is in a tie with TFB Matter, who is in 17th, also with 70. FCT Racing also has 70 points. He is 16th. 15th is Dino Prime with 79 points. 14th is Apex Blade 87 with 110. 13th is Bryant with only 111 points. 12th is TMS Steam Ray with 123. He is in a tie with Rockmaro, who also is in 11th with 123 points. 10th is SSR U5 AMVP, has 124 points. 9th is OTR Anonyms, he has 130 points. SRD Shredder, winner of the Daytona 350, is 8th with 138 points. Then you have 7th, Raygun vs. Zombie with 140 points. 6th is Tactical Fallout with 144. 5th is Xebot with 145. 4th is TTJ111 with 150 points. 3rd is Aero Cobra with 163. 2nd is TMS Derp with 170. And 1st is Ludicrous Speed with 178 points as it stands right now. So real quickly, this is going to be an 80-lap race. There are two stages in this event. One at the end of lap 20, or realistically 21 because the first lap's a pace lap, and then one at the end of lap 40, which is really going to be 41. So a fuel run is supposed to be between 19 and 20 laps. So, 1 second. So a single yellow flag lap in either of the stages means that you can make it to the end with just 2 stops. Okay, cool, thanks. I do appreciate that. So a single yellow flag lap. So a fuel run is supposed to be taking about 19 to 20 laps in this event. Very interesting will it be the run to the end of the first stage because we are going to be running realistically about 20 and a half laps worth of fuel, and the fuel tank is going to be iffy if it can make exactly 20 laps. We may see some drivers trying to do some skanky stuff with lifting, coasting, or whatever just to try and make it to the end of the first stage without having to pit. However, we may also see some people just ignore that altogether and go for pure pace. If there are any yellow flags in the event, this will automatically become a 2-stop race without issue. If we have a lot of yellow, it could be a 1-stop race, but I don't anticipate that will actually be the case. So we're just standing by right now, waiting for everyone to get properly readied up for the race right now. Nearly a full field for today's race. 22 drivers have signed up for the event today. OTR Anonyms there in the number 80 Ford. Then Larry B, the G, is in the number 18 Skittles Toyota. Aero Cobra, once again, is in the blue Deuce in the Ford. TMS Bum Drop returns in the number 55 Chevrolet. Then Apex Blade is running that monster-sponsored number 87 Ford. The tire barrier once again showing up in that 00 Toyota Racing Development Toyota. Deed Smeeman is back in the number 23 McDonald's and Toyota. Toyota-sponsored Toyota, inspired heavily by Bubba Wallace. TFB Matter is in the number 19 Subway Eat Fresh Toyota. Adam 2005 is in the number 13 National Guard Chevrolet. Uber Nuts is in the number 8 Bud Chevrolet. Dino Prime 77 is in the 77 Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet. Tactical Fall is running the number 14 Gear Wrench Ford Fusion. OTR Popping is in the number 17 Krispy Kreme Ford. SRD Shredder in the Kobayashi Dragon Maid, number 10 Ford. Coco Gamer is in the number 7 Mobile Mini Ford. SSR U5 AVMP is going to be in the number 54 Interstate Battery. Oh, okay, we're about to just load into the circuit. Cool. I'll go through the list properly then once we are on the circuit. Pace car has been removed due to various timing issues that have occurred over the last few races. There will not be a pace car for the rest of the season. One lap under pace speed, then they will go green. Double file for the start. All restarts will be single file as well. Also, runoff on the exit of turn 1 going down to turn 2 is allowed on starts and restarts. However, it is not legal to put your car out there outside of the initial race start or restart. Alright, from the back to the front. Last place who missed qualifying OTR Anonyms. Let me get the helicopter camera so I can better see their cars. In the number 80 Ford Fusion. Then 21st is going to be TMS Bum Drop in the number 55 Puma Chevrolet. 20th is going to be Apex Blade in that number A7 Monster Ford. 19th is going to be the Tire Bearer. He's in the 00 Toyota Racing Development Machine. 18th is Aerocobe as he is in the Blue Deuce Ford. Once again, 17th is going to be Deed Smeeman. He is in the number 23 Toyota Racing Development Machine. 16th is TFB Matter. He is in the Subway Eat Fresh Toyota. Then 15th is Dino Prime 77 in the Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet. 14th is Uber Nuts in that number 8 Budweiser Chevrolet. 13th is Aidenman 2005. He is in that National Guard and Texas University, also sponsored by 1320 Video Chevrolet. It's a relatively minimalistic scheme, but I do like it. 12th is going to be this man here, Tactical Fault, in that Gear Wrench number 14 Ford. 11th will be OTR Popping. He is in that number 17 Krispy Kreme Ford. 10th is Larry B, the G. He is going to be running the 18 Skittles Camry. 9th is going to be SRD Shredder, winner of the 350. He is in the Crypto and Kobayashi Dragon Maid Ford. 8th is going to be Prius Killer. Prius is going to be in that 76 Unical Chevrolet. Then in 7th will be Coco Gamer in that number 7 Mobile Mini Ford. Then ahead of him is going to be, I don't want to see Prius again, I want to see FCT Racing. He is in that number 25 GoPro. Then he's alongside SSR, who's in that 54 Interstate Battery Chevrolet. Then it's Lucas Speed and TMS Stingray just farther up. And then we look at our lead group as they're coming out of the final corner now, preparing to go green flag here, is Mountain Dew and Oreos leading the field to the green flag here at Watkins Glen. Side by side for a lead, but under heavy braking, the 88 will go ahead and take advantage of that legal runoff for a single lap to try and hold pace with TMS Derp. However, he is not going to be able to stay ahead of him. Xebot falls in line behind the 33, tries to cross over in the S's, can't make it stick. They're side by side farther back, but everyone, despite a bunch of them bouncing off the wall, will keep it straight farther back. The front two are now pulling away from the field just a bit as we look back and we see FCT Racing in a side-by-side fight with Coco Gamer as they go into the bus stop chicane. FCT shows up ahead with that GoPro machine, actually causes Coco to run off circuit. They both are off track into the outside wall, and they're both going to lose a bunch of time in the process. Someone else is sideways back there. Oh, and that's 8-man into the wall farther back there. Single car incident. He's not going to be happy about that, I imagine. But FCT Racing has fallen from 5th to 16th in the span of about 3 corners. While at the front is TMS Derp leading. Second is Xebot. Third is Lucas Speed. Fourth is this man here, TMS Stingray. Stingray in that Goodyear-sponsored #1 Ford looking to the inside of the Home Depot Chevrolet. Nose to tail as they now begin running uphill. Trying to look for a way through there. Ludacris just pops the side of the car on the wall. And Stingray now dives to the inside and falls back in line behind the 20, nose to tail, as this fight for third goes into the bus stop chicane once more. Stingray gets really sideways, pulls alongside the 20, but doesn't have the momentum to do anything with it. And we turn our focus back to the battle for lead. Xebot right there behind TMS Derp. The two leaders aren't taking the full runoff. Now, you are allowed to take as much runoff as you want coming out of that corner, turn 9, formerly turn 5. But the two leaders seem to not want to go extremely aggressive, use all the line. They want to just kind of limit their car to the rumble strip itself. It's an interesting strategy as we see Ludacris Speed and Stingray neck and neck behind for third. Stingray has the advantage, and going into 1, it looks like he'll sail into the lead. Ludacris in line behind just does not seem to have quite the control necessary. Now we see a Shredder closing in on this fight. And Prius Killer is sideways farther back, but was able to get back under control before it became too much of an issue. Now on this back straightaway, it's just long enough that draft ends up being a major factor. So Ludacris being right behind that #1 will get a chance to potentially throw it to the inside. Won't do it, but he gets right underneath the rear bumper. They're both putting tires into the dirt through there. Ludacris runs wide, kind of alongside him, but doesn't have the momentum. But now he cuts to the inside, side by side, and the 1 is sideways. The 1 is drifting on the outside. Ludacris Speed backs out a little bit, doesn't want to unfairly take advantage of it, but that has brought Shredder up into the fray. It's going to be a 3-man fight for a third spot now. Stingray has the inside. Ludacris is locked on the outside. Shredder takes it as well. So Shredder now alongside 20 side by side for the 4th position. That's exactly what Stingray wants to see. It's his best chance to get away now, as now we see SSR and Prius Killer both trying to close in, and Ludacris has now slipped to 5th position at this point in the event. Ludacris tries a crossover, tries to come out on the inside of Shredder. Couldn't make anything of it though. Falls in line behind for the moment, a little bit further back. This is Larry B, the G. He has worked his way to the 8th position, trying to hold place over Apex Blade 87. There's a big gap between the top 9 and the rest of the field. It's about 3 seconds until you get to Tactical Fall, who is back there in the 10th spot right now. In fact, as we go ahead and pull up the map real briefly, you can kind of see how just visually how massive the gap is between 9th and 10th on the circuit. And even at that, your 10th place driver, Tactical Fall, is kind of running on his own. There's really no one else running on track with him. Meanwhile, SSR is right there behind Ludacris Speed. And Ludacris has not really fallen that far off from Shredder. It seems like Shredder, who didn't start too close to the front, has kind of stalled out in his forward momentum in 4th position. TMS Stingray is running off in 3rd. At the front, though, Xebot is about 0.8 of a second behind your current leader, TMS Derp, who started on the pole position. As we look way farther back in the grid here, this is OTR Popping in 21st position as he watches the fight there. That's Deed Speedman and Uber Nuts fighting for the 19th spot behind Tire Barrier. We're riding on board with Deed Speedman here behind Uber Nuts. You see he made a lunge on Tire Barrier, could not make anything of it, but farther up there's fighting between 15th and 16th position. That's kind of bunching this group up a bit. Now OTR Popping trying to make a run on Deed Speedman here. Not in a position to do anything though. Gets right behind him, pushes him a little wide on exit, but Deed Speedman has the inside line for the following quarter. Popping has more momentum going in. Wider exit that lets him put the power down a little easier, and despite not having the apex, Popping now will get by Deed Speedman for 20th position. OTR Anonyms has worked his way up into 16th after missing qualifying, as you can see the fighting with TMS Bum Drop ahead of him along with Coco Gamer 11. Coco did not have a great run in qualifying, but he is fine with Dino Prime right now for a 13th spot farther up. Dino Prime falls behind Coco Gamer now. Seems like the number 74 is a little bit better, a little bit more comfortable with the track right now than that 77 Chevrolet. Dino leaving the inside line very much open. He's one of the drivers that likes to take that extreme runoff, take as much runoff as possible, but TMS Bum Drop with that straighter line is able to just maintain momentum better, and he will walk by Dino Prime now. So Dino Prime, a veteran of the series, gradually falling backwards through the field. FCT Racing, who started near the front but fell back after getting caught with Coco Gamer and Aidenman, has recovered to 11th, trying to run down Tactical Fallout, who's there in 10th ahead, but isn't really making a whole lot of progress. 10th place as we look at Tactical Fallout here as he's going uphill. He's watching Larry B the G up ahead. Again, stage 1 at lap 20, stage 2 lap 40, and that will be a 41 lap sprint. Well, 21, 41, and then a 40 lap sprint to the end of this race. Everyone is anticipating that. It will be close, but they should be able to complete this first stage without having to worry too much about pit stops. Tactical Fallout sliding there through the grass, and that will let FCT Racing close in just a bit. 8th position, Apex Blade. He's caught the back of this very spread out lead group ahead, but isn't really in a position to do anything with them. As Prius Killer ahead, then SSR5, who is behind Shredder. Shredder has lost position at a ludicrous speed, so a fight for 4th, very much active between two series veterans. Shredder's first race was in Season 1 at Brands Hatch Ludicrous. Series owner has shown up in every race in the series. Only 2 drivers have done so, Ludicrous Speed and Dino Prime 77. No one else can match the attendance record those two have thus far. At the front, we look at 3rd place, TMS Stingray. He is just kind of cruising on his own, not able to really make any great ground on the leaders. Xebot 360 is doing the same, just kind of cruising on his own in 2nd, while your leader, TMS Derp, has opened up a slow, steady gap over the rest of the field. Prius Killer taps the outside wall there, but you can see SSR has a run on Shredder, looking at him there, dives to the inside, gets alongside on exit, but Shredder, being on the outside, has the ability to have more track to put power down, doesn't have to worry as much with wheel spin. Up, down, up onto the back straightaway. SSR has a run on the 10. 54 versus 10, Toyota versus Ford. The Ford has the point. They're both watching the Chevy of Ludicrous Speed, trying to walk away from them for the moment. A little bit farther back in the field, once more, OTR Anonyms right there behind TFB Matter. Ford versus 2 Fords, sandwiching a Toyota. And I guess that's one way to get a Eat Fresh Subway sandwich. Toyota is the meat, and the Ford's the bread. TMS Bum Drop a little bit further back watching. Now, Anonyms doesn't want to be behind the 19 for any longer than he has to. He sends it on to the inside, overtakes, but misses the following corner, and Matter does a simple crossover, moves right back into place. But as those two are fighting, it will let Coco Gamer, who's ahead, pull away just a little bit, and it will drag TMS Bum Drop in 14th up into play a little bit as well. Shredder has lost position now to SSR, so it seems like he is struggling a little bit to maximize his car around here. There's also this fight for 7th between Apex Blade and Prius Killer. Blade has the leading spot. Prius just trying to follow a little bit farther back right now. As we look real quickly at the telemetry, 49% fuel. Really, the important thing is TMS Derp. He needs to be as we are just a little bit past halfway through this first stint. 49% fuel, and he needs to make this remain 48% last the remaining 10 laps of this stint. But with no yellow flags, everyone, theoretically, is on the exact same scenario when it comes to fuel mileage. It would be weird, but it is possible we may see a scenario where drivers are coming to the end of the stage in pit lane. If that ends up happening, we could see a scenario where, just because of where drivers are or aren't parked on pit road, it could be a very, very random who ends up where when it comes to getting stage points. No guarantee that's going to be the case yet. But a small advantage that this man here, TMS Derp, does have, and to a lesser extent Xebot and Second have, they have such a large gap on the rest of the field. If they decided, they could both start letting out of the throttle a little bit earlier down to the straights, braking a little less aggressively, just kind of roll it through the corners more, and in turn end up extending their fuel mileage a little bit more to make it to where they don't have to pit until lap 22 rather than lap 21. Lap 13 now in the books. Well, now lap 12 in the books, lap 13 now beginning. TMS Derp has had the fastest lap, sailing away from everyone else. Xebot is fallen to about 2 seconds out from him. Stingray is about another 2.5 seconds out. Ludicrous Speed is about 4 more seconds out. So yeah, the gap that our leader is pulling, ooh, and Derp hits the wall a bit there, but again, he has such a large gap, it kind of doesn't matter, and the proper racing line puts you right against the wall at such an angle as well that even if you hit it, you don't really lose a lot of speed. SSR is holding steady in 5th position. Shredder has dropped back to 6th now, after getting as high as 4th earlier. Apex Blade is starting to pull a gap on Prius Killer, as he is 7th, and Prius is still within draft, but not within striking range. He is in 8th. 9th place is FCT Racing right now. So I think Racing has pretty much maximized his move up through the grid for the moment. Clean Air, it's about more than 5 seconds though until he gets to the next person. Tactical Fallout, he is staying around in 10th position. Coco Gamer, after being caught up in instance earlier with FCT, has showed up in about 11th right now, but he cannot get away from this group of TFB Matter or OTR Anonyms. These two Fords and a Toyota just will not stop fighting with each other, as the Anonyms muscle his way to the inside of Matter. This time he gets that position. Now Matter has to see if he can find a way to get back around him before TMS Bum Drop and Uber Nuts show up and start trying to drop him even further down the grid. So a pack of about 5 cars right here on the circuit as Anonyms now tries to fight with Coca for the 11th spot. Flat out as you go through these S's here. Ooh! And Anonyms and Coca both just slightly tap the wall there. Again, racing line though, it's such a nice clean angle with the wall that even if you tap it, you don't really lose a whole lot of speed. Now if you're side by side with someone else and do that, that might be a different scenario. Anonyms through the dirt to Matter through the dirt as well. But Anonyms had a really bad run exiting the bus stop and now Matter to the inside. They both drift off of the apex a little bit. Anonyms has to take that extra wide line. Neck and neck. Ford versus Toyota for 12th position. It looks like though Anonyms will have the advantage having that inside line. Not really much Matter can do. He throws it very aggressively into the final corner, but ends up hitting the inside dirt. Sacrifices the momentum a bit, and now Anonyms has a run on Coca Gamer. Coca responds, he defends a slightly more inside line. Anonyms can't send it up into the following corner because of that. A little bit farther up in 7th position, Prius Killer is still in 8th, trying to do something to Apex Blade. Both of them are gradually closing down on SRG Shredder ahead though, as Shredder seems to be fading. Had a really good early part of this race as Tire Bear has just gotten by Deep Speedman for the last 2 positions on the track. So Shredder falling off of the top 5 right now. Only one veteran in the series is in the position to earn points at the end of the stage. That would be Lucre Speed, who is currently 4th. TMS Bum Drop now gets by Matter for a 13th spot. As we bring up the map, 6 laps to the end of this first stage, and once again, we take a look at our current race leader, TMS Derp. Fastest man on track by far. As we look at his telemetry, 26% fuel. I'm not sure if he's going to make it to lap 21 on this tank. But with that said, everyone is on basically the exact same fuel strat right now. There's been no yellow flags to randomize the grid in any way. There is a high likelihood that, again, points paid at the end of lap 21, at the end of the stage, will end up being somewhat randomized just due to where people's spots on pit lane are going to be. In that scenario, you ideally would want to have a box as far down pit lane as possible, or at least right at where the start-finish line itself is. And we will do whatever we can to try and properly document where everyone is at the end of the stage. And again, we do not go yellow flag at the end of the stages here. You just keep racing, you stay green in that scenario. Other thing to consider is tire wear. TMS Derp, 41, 39% in the front, 25 and 27%. Behind him, Xebot, who is in second and kind of fading, a little bit better off when it comes to the front tire wear, but a little bit worse off when it comes to the rear tire wear. Then you look at third place, TMS Stingray. Stingray, a little bit more aggressive than both of them when it comes to his tire wear right now. Ludicrous Speed, who is cruising around in fourth spot, he is doing a little bit better when it comes to rear tire wear, but a little bit worse when it comes to front. Then fifth place SSR, he is now beginning to fall back just a little bit. He's not really closing in on Ludicrous Speed, and he runs the risk of potentially laying Shredder or one of these other drivers behind Shredder, like Prius or like Prius Killer, ended up getting by him and steal fifth spot from him. So this is the really active battle to watch. SSR definitely letting off of the throttle early going into the course, so he is very much aware. But again, 19% fuel for your leader. Xebot, second place. He is at 20% fuel, so he is saving a bit of fuel. TMS Stingray, who is in third, 16%. He is not saving fuel whatsoever. Ludicrous Speed in fourth. He is at 18%. Fifth place, SSR. He is at 20% as well. So I think Xebot may be in a better position when it comes to this stage, just trying to save that extra little bit of fuel. Apex Blade fighting with Shredder now for sixth spot. Shredder is not able to do anything. Apex is at to 16% fuel. Shredder is at 18%. So Shredder is a little bit better off with fuel mileage. Will it be enough, though? The real question is going to be between TMS Derp, who is leading right now, 15% in the tank, and Xebot, who is second, who has 17% in the tank, so about a 2% difference. And then third place, you look at Stingray, he is running around with 13% in this tank. I don't think there's any way Stingray makes it to lap 21 on this round of fuel. He's probably going to have to pit sooner rather than later. Again, 4% difference between himself and the driver in second right now. That is a massive, massive change. I think Stingray may just be trying to go hard to the end and just trying to get a good finishing result rather than trying to get the stage points at the moment. 11% fuel, and again, there were 2 laps from the end of this stage. It's going to be close. Well, 3 laps, actually. You have to count this lap as well, so it's more like we're about 2.5 laps from the end of the stage. Again, it's anticipated you use about 5% of your fuel tank, if not a little bit more, every lap. 19 to 20 laps is what we were told under green flag conditions. The first lap obviously under pace speed, so that's only about half a lap of use, but that would only get you to about 20, maybe a little bit more. It's going to be really rough to the end here. We're seeing our first driver come into pit lane. Who is that? That is going to be Arrow Cobry. He is the first one to come into pits. As we focus on Derp, will Derp pit now? No, he's going to stay out one more lap. But what about third place? TMS Stingray. 7% left in the tank for Stingray. And we're on lap 20. It's the end of 21 that matters, and for Stingray, it's not going to happen. He'll have to pit at the end of 20, and this will likely drop him well down the order. Fuel mileage being a big factor just to the end of the first stage, and where you pit in the first stage is going to have a knock-on effect as to where you pit in the for the end of the second stage, which will be on lap 41. At the end of lap 41. TMS Derp at 6% fuel. Oh, you can hear he is letting way out of the throttle. You can just hear how much he's coasting. He wants so desperately to win this stage. This could really randomize the grid order. because we may have drivers up front on pace that are sacrificing a lot of time just trying to get these extra few points. 5% left in the tank for TMS Derp. Can he go another lap and win this first stage? He's going to try, but he is slow. Xebot behind him in second is a little bit better off in fuel right now, but not much. 5% for him. Third place, TMS Stingray comes in now. He's going by ludicrous speed. What about who takes up third now? It's going to be SSR. So SSR, as we're trying to get a focus on him now, he is now third. He is at 5% fuel. He should be able to make it to the end, but this is going to be close. We're watching our leaders right now. Do they have the fuel to win this stage? They have the track position. They need to make it to the line. 1% left for TMS Derp, your leader. He is so close to being out of fuel, it's not funny. And for everyone who's already pitted, they can charge. They can go hard. Derp, 0% fuel. And it's going to be fumes for Derp to the line. In fact, he's going to try and probably win the stage in the pit lane. But we don't know where Derp or Xebot's boxes are on pit road. If their boxes are before the start-finish line on pit road, there is a very high likelihood they're going to lose this stage. We're looking at it on the map. Derp comes. He has the very first box. That's not good for Derp. And Xebot's going to pit right in front of him. That turns the advantage over to SSR. SSR, is he going to take the stage? He is going to stay out. He's going to do it. Coming to the line. SSR is going to win your first stage here. Second place is going to go to TMS Derp. Third is going to go to Xebot. And your fourth is going to be... Who is that? Who is second? No, not Derp. There was someone else. Oh no, that was lap traffic. So Derp does get second. Third, then goes to Xebot. Fourth is going to be Shredder if he can get going. No, he's going to lose it. It's the monster. Apex Play gets fourth. Shredder gets fifth. As the end of the stage is decided by 4 of the 5 spots on pit road and where the driver's boxes were on pit lane. Wow, and that was just for the end of the first stage alone, and the second stage is going to be in another 20 laps. Drivers who had to pit early are going to be really screwed. Drivers who pit late will be still right on that bleeding edge of making it. Also of note, SSR did a good enough job saving and conserving fuel that he was able to get that, but now he is out of fuel. I repeat, our current race leader completely out of fuel right now. Here comes Tire Bear and Aerocope. They pitted about 2 laps before the end of the stage because they knew they weren't going to make it. They knew they weren't in a position, so they went a lap down. Now they get back on the lead lap as SSR comes into the pits. A stage win, but at what cost? Because who knows now where he's going to end up turning up in relation to the other drivers who didn't have to spend almost an entire lap on no fuel. Alright, so TMS Derp already down to 95%, and actually, Derp let Xebot close in pretty aggressively on him in that entire thing. So Derp back to the lead. And there is someone who has had an instant there in the tire barriers, in the bus stop chicane. And that would be OTR Adonims. He has finally gotten away again, but his race has not gone as planned at all. As we turn the map off for a moment and turn the telemetry off for the moment as well. Xebot now, he was 2 seconds behind Derp. Now he is only 7/10 behind him. As Apex Blade now gets by SSR, as SSR struggling to come out of pit lane. OTR Popping also now gets by Matter. But a lot of interest near the front of the grid. Ludicrous Speed is now in 4th, but he had pitted a lap early, missed it, and was not able to get stage points. Just stand by for a moment. The interesting thing is that this will have a significant knock-on effect, and we've had no yellow flags. It's been green since the start of this race, with that in mind, we may see a few drivers in a position where they may have to make a third and final stop in the, well, so you make one stop at 20, one stop at 20 or 21, between 19, 20, 21, one stop between 22, somewhere between 19 and 22, one more stop between 38 and 44. You may see drivers also making a stop at about 57 and 66, and a few of the drivers who have to pit early will likely have to make one more stop to the end of this race. So this is going to get really interesting when it comes to fuel mileage. It's looking right now like some of these, not everyone, but for some drivers, they may have to make a stop late. It's looking like this might end up being a fuel mileage event if we stay green to race in. Of note, Xzbot continues to hang out about 3/4 of a second behind TMS Derp. Now we know Xzbot gets fuel mileage about the same rate that Derp does. Derp is a little bit faster normally. Now this stage is going to be technically a little bit shorter. It's only 20 laps under green flag racing rather than 20 laps of green flag racing and 1 lap under yellow. I think these guys will be in a better position on fuel, but they also, now that they know the kind of scenario they're in, can kind of lay back a little bit and just try to make it a little farther. For this man here in third place, though, TMS Stingray, he is 5 seconds out from the lead right now. Then you have this fight here. FCT Racing has recovered up into 5th spot. He has SRD Shredder there behind him. Shredder did get a point at that stage. 5th, could have been more, but due to where his box was right before the start-finish line, he ended up losing out on it. Now, I also want to say that SSR is going to be in a very interesting position because we now know he can go a lap farther than any of the other leaders on fuel. The counterpoint to that, though, is that he lost so much time after crossing the line, though, that it may not factor in. I don't know if he's going to be in a position where he can win the following stage. He might still be able to get a few points, but I don't know if he can win, and that's going to put him so far behind the 8-ball going forward. But if he can parlay that going forward and we stay green to the end, that basically means he also has 1 extra lap of fuel compared to some of the other leaders. And if a lot of drivers are running out in the final laps of the race, that could play very well. Shredder to the inside, FCT Racing side by side, and Shredder drifts it through the grass, keeps it together but cannot hold the spot. FCT Racing holds the position. And FCT Racing actually pulls the gap on Shredder now. Coco Gamer has recovered up to the 9th spot on track. So the top 9 continues to see themselves be a little bit separate from the rest of the field. But with that said, some of them are different drivers and some of them are guys who could have been in relatively different spots. SSR was up and fighting for a 5th spot on pace. Now he's back there in 8th because of all the time he lost on that lap after winning the stage because he just had no fuel for almost that entire lap. He was basically coasting around the circuit, and he's lost a chunk of time in the process. Coco Gamer, on the other hand, he was one of the drivers. He realized, hey, stage points isn't in the game for me. He pitted early. That's meant that he was able to get onto the circuit early. Now he is way better off on track position because he's not stopped pushing this entire time. This is 10th place TMS Bum Drop. He has gradually clawed his way up to the field. He's kind of running in no man's land right now. No one ahead of him, no one behind him as he's hanging out in 10th spot. He's just too far back to really factor into anything at the moment. OTR Popping, who is in that Krispy Kreme machine, has gotten by Subway. So I guess in this case, donuts are healthier than Subway sandwiches. I mean, Subway sandwiches are only as healthy as you make them, and only as healthy as the, quality of meat and bread that you're given. But Popping is not pulled away too far from this fight. Then 12th place is TFB Matter, 13th place Dino Prime. He said going in he felt really happy but did not feel confident. He liked his car, he liked how it handled, but he said there were so many people who were way better, way more experienced, way more term used sweaty in this game that he felt that he was going to have no real chance at factoring into this race. Right now he is running Tactical Fallout. Tactical Fallout also has run nearly every single race since the start of Season 2. He's the one who builds the cars for this series. Obviously, that knowledge only gets him so far as he's running 14th. Prius Killer, who was fighting well higher up the grid earlier, he is killing out in 15th spot. I have to think that for Prius, either he was involved in an incident or he was someone who tried pushing the fuel way hard to try and get an extra position, and it just didn't work. He has dropped to 15th spot and is just really not making a whole lot of movement. Uber Nuts is back there in the 16th position. He's kind of been stuck mid-rear field most of the day. 17th, Larry B, the G. He was way higher earlier today, but he has just kind of gradually fallen off as this race has gone on. Aiden 2005 also was higher up. Started relatively well, but was involved in a lap 1 incident. No yellow flag for that, but Aiden has basically had to crawl back, lost time early on, and he has made every single position count. He's not in a great points-paying position right now, but he is en route to what could be a respectable showing today. 19th place, OTR Anonyms back there. Again, another driver who was in a better position, but he was involved in an accident just by himself, and the bus stop chicane has dropped to 19th position. 20th, the tire barrier. He went ahead, he pitted early to get more fuel in the tank, but I think also just pace is an issue for him. He is not keeping up with the drivers ahead. And Aero Cobri, who qualified relatively well, had great one-lap pace. Now he is at risk of potentially going a lap down, because if you look behind him on circuit, that is your race leader, TMS Derp. Now, in this series, if you're on the lead lap, trying to stay on the lead lap, you're allowed to defend as aggressively as you want. Do whatever you think is necessary. Also, that's Dietzman back there, 22nd. He has gone a lap down to our 2 leaders. For Xebot, this is great, because if he can catch TMS Derp being held up by lap traffic, it will give him a perfect chance to try and go for a move for the race lead. As we look at the telemetry, 57% fuel for Derp right now. Xebot right behind will likely be in a similar position with fuel, maybe a little bit more used. Yeah, 58 for Xebot, so he's actually a little bit better on fuel. The real question for them, though, is where will they be at the end of lap 31, which will be exactly halfway through this second stage. Derp now caught behind Aero Cobri there. As we ride on board with Xebot, Cobri slides out of the final corner and takes the inside, does not want to hold up the fight for a lead at the moment. But the next man up, tire barrier, may not be so nice to the leaders. So about 3/8 of the way through this race, and finally driver is going to lap down. No yellow flags today, it's been all green thus far. And you see Xebot has a great run down the straightaway using the draft and a better exit out of the S's to close the gap. He gets right behind the rear bumper. Not able to do anything, but Derp made a mistake. There we are, nose to tail, going into turn 9. Nose to tail, Derp runs a wider line, Xebot a little bit straighter. Not quite side by side now. Xebot looks to the inside. Derp defends. Xebot goes outside. He's going to take a smoother line. Derp kind of compromised himself trying to defend there. At the line, Xebot is at 51% fuel. So that means that he should be good to the end of this stage. TMS Derp is at 50%. But again, you could cross the line with 0%, win the stage, and then if you spend the entire next lap low on fuel, you could significantly hamper your position to the end of this race. Now, these two do have a massive gap over the rest of the grid, but still, it could harm you significantly. We saw how SSR went from winning that stage by stretching his fuel, and now he's all the way down in 8th. This fight for the win continues, and they're both closing in on Tire Barrier. Tire Barrier, not a slouch in his own right. He's one of the earliest success stories of the Busch Series. Was one of the first drivers to be brought from the Busch Series up to Cup level. How aggressively will he defend to stay on the lead lap? Again, if he defends nice and hard and stays there for a while, it also means he'll be able to hold on to 20th over the driver behind him a bit longer. Derp right there behind him. He looks to the inside. Can't make it stick. Tire Barrier defends the inside. Derp not happy at all. Xebot and Tire Barrier is pushing to the outside. And the leader pushes the lap traffic into the outside wall. Xebot's there. He's on the outside. Side by side for position. Neck and neck. Around the outside. Xebot trying to make it stick. Can't make it stick, but he's there. He capitalized. Just couldn't capitalize enough. Now Derp has position once more, but Xebot is there. Xebot has draft, Xebot has line, speed, willingness, and a little bit of time. Can he mix all of that together? Mix it up in form, say a few words, and lose control, and take that lead from TMS Derp. Derp into the dirt, going into the bus stop chicane on entry, Xebot into the dirt on exit. So the fight for a lead, very active right now. Out of that not final corner, out of turn 9, and flying down into the last 2 corners now. Derp now opening a small gap on Xebot. Again, these two, if they elect to go ahead and just pit, then they will likely be committing pit on lap 41. They run the risk of throwing away the stage win, but they may be thinking more of the overall race win instead. Again, you can see Xebot has a better exit out of the S's, and with that coupled with the draft, he's able to close in on Derp, gets right behind him in the braking zone. But Derp is a little bit better, exiting out of the bus stop chicane. Xebot got a good exit that time. To the inside. They're side by side for a lead. Xebot inside, Derp outside. Nose to tail, once again, down this shorter straight now. Xebot looks to the inside. How aggressively does Derp defend? The answer, just enough to hold the position. But Xebot has now set the fastest lap of this race, so we now know these two have really pushed themselves to a level. They're now 6 seconds ahead of 3rd place, 12 seconds ahead of 4th, and about 30 seconds ahead of 5th right now. And there is a fight going on for 5th position. I do want to go ahead and focus on that for a brief moment, as FCT Racing is trying to stay ahead of SRD Shredder for that spot. FCT trying to recover from a pair of lap 1 incidents that dropped him well down the field. He's in 5th now. At the front though, Derp holding position. He's actually extended the gap just a bit over Xebot this time. And now we look at the telemetry once more when it comes to fuel. What is their fuel numbers looking like? Lap 36, they'll ideally want to be, at the end of lap 36, ideally these two will want to be at 25% fuel. They both have a lot of gap on 3rd place. They could choose to save a bit now, so they're not totally out later, and try to get an extra lap. Again, fuel is right in that border between 19 and 20 laps. 3rd place real quick. So leader 29%, 2nd place is at 30%. 3rd place, TMS Streamray, who is a ways back, he is ran at 24%. It's not looking good for his fuel number. Ludicrous Speed, who is in 4th, is at 25%. 5th place, FCT Racing, he is turning laps with 27% fuel. Shredder, who is 6th, he is turning with 30% fuel right now. So, a lot of variance. I think we're probably going to see a few more crazy last lap changes for a position at the end of this stage. 7th, SSR, he's recovered up to 7th. He's at 36% fuel. And here's the thing, because he waited an extra lap, yes, he is now in the hole when it comes to track position, but he is now way better on fuel than most everyone ahead of him. Going forward, he might be able to transition this into gain at least 5th, maybe, at the end of the following stage. Apex played back here in 8th, not a factor in the stage right now. And Coca Gamer back here in 9th, he is basically in a race of his own, 24%. So 25% for your leader at the line, and Xebot, who is 2nd, was at 26% at the line. So Xebot continues to be at slightly better fuel mileage right now. As we brain up the map, once again, SSR in 7th. The top speed thing is broken, but it is hopeful to look at him because you can see he's basically half a lap down compared to our leaders. But fuel's not an issue for him. Fuel is going to be an issue for these two one way or another. There is a risk, not a guarantee, but there is a risk that they could end up losing this stage in exchange for trying to win the race, or they could push themselves hard, get this stage victory, because both of them lost out on it last stage, and then potentially sacrifice their in-race simply because of how much time they would lose in the following lap 42 when they'd be very low on fuel. And highlighted in blue, that number 3, that is your third place driver, TMS Stingray. But Stingray is in a worse fuel position. And then Ludicrous back there in 4th, 5th FCT Racing is almost an entire sector back as well. So the top 5 very spread out at this point in the event. Xebot continues to exert pressure on Derp for the race lead. But right now, Derp's opened up the gap a bit on Xebot. I think it's going relatively well in Derp's favor. But, unlike the last stage, these two can't afford, well, Derp can't really afford to do a lot of fuel saving, and he is in the hole a little bit worse than Xebot is at the moment. As they come to the line, lap 39, so it'll be 3 more laps to the end of the stage. And we will likely start seeing drivers pit this lap. People who pit early in the first stint will probably start pitting about now as well. And basically anyone who pits now, they're basically hoping that we have a lot of yellow flag laps. Not like with how spread out the field is, but they're hoping that either we get a lot of yellow flag laps, or we end up with, or something, because otherwise they're basically locked into a 4-stop strategy. First driver to come in the pit lane, that is Aero Cobri. He seems to be the only one pitting right now, though, at the moment. And he will continue to kind of put himself in a hole when it comes to laps at the moment. As we continue our focus on the fight for the lead. Derp takes a little bit wider line, isn't quite as close to the apex going through 9 there, and also is a little bit wider on exit. Xebot a lot tighter through there. It seems like Xebot is just way better in the areas that Derp's weaker at, but track position is keen at the moment. Xebot, though, has closed right back in behind Derp. 2 more laps to the end of this stage. And the end of this second stage will also mark the halfway point of this race. Tire barrier in 20th. He is pitting now. So the drivers at the back of the grid kind of realize they're screwed at this point, and they're just pitting so that way because they've already committed to a 4-stop strategy at this point. Derp really not happy through the bus stop that time, but Xebot could not capitalize, ended up running through the dirt himself. Again, there are other fights going on, but this is for the lead and potentially the stage victory. As we take a look one more time at their fuel. 8% for Xebot. For your current leader, Derp, 5%. Derp, he's going to have to pit on the following lap. He's at 5%. This is not looking good for him. They're about to catch Aiden Man, as OTR Popping has pitted, and he's gone a lap down. They're about to get Aid Man, who will likely be paying in a lap or so as well. Derp is likely going to lose this stage victory to Xebot. Because Xebot has just a little bit more fuel than your current leader, and although Xebot will likely lose time on the racetrack, afterwards, he will be able to go farther. But Derp, I think, is not playing for stage points. I think Derp is playing for the race win. He's made it almost 20 laps exactly with fuel. If that works, then that means that he can make it to the end on just one more stop after this. It's at 1% fuel in his tank right now. To the end of the stage. Lap 41. Who will be the first one across the line? Derp commits to pit lane. He's held up behind Aiden Man. And Xebot's pitting as well. So Xebot and Derp are both pitting. So what about third place? They get into it in pit lane. Third place is way back there in turn 5. Xebot is ahead of Derp on the pit lane box. Yeah, it's Apex Blade. He's in 5th now. So who's 3rd? Is it SSR? Yes! SSR took 3rd position in the stage. Shredder still in pit lane. He's still 4th, but he'll lose again to Apex Blade. In fact, Apex Blade got ahead. TMS Bum Drop got ahead. So it's TMS Bum Drop, then Apex Blade. So it's SSR who wins another stage. Well, who finishes 3rd in that stage. The winner is TMS Derp. 2nd is Xebot. 3rd is SSR. Stop crashing on me, Forza, for God's sake. 4th is going to be TMS Bum Drop, and 5th will be TMS Stingray. So for SSR, he is leading right now, and he's in a little bit better position when it comes to fuel than he was before. But he will have to pit this lap. There's no way around it. But back-to-back stage wins for SSR. So now, it is just the race to the end of the event. Everyone who pitted a little bit later might be in trouble going forward, but the big thing to consider are 2 leaders, TMS Derp and Xebot. They take home 1st and 2nd in the 2nd stage, and now they are fighting outright for pure win. Derp has led most of the laps today. Xebot's not really led any today. However, Xebot has been able to match Derp pace by pace, and now they are caught up to the back end of the large train of cars. That's Dino Prime 77 ahead, who they're about to try and put a lap down. And all this lap traffic is really going to have some massive impact on how these two play. Again, we'll see the next round of pit stops between lap 58 and lap 66, and those will be the last stops for most of the field. There will be a few people farther back who will likely have to make one more stop in the closing 5 laps of the race, though. Xebot right there behind Derp still. Of note, 3rd place once again goes to this man here, TMS Stingray, who has kind of been in no man's land most of the day. Ludicrous Speed loses out in points in both stages, but he is on track to hold on to 4th. And 5th, this man here, SSR, not lost time at the end of that 2nd stage, and he is now a little bit ahead of everyone else on fuel. He can go hard to the end, as he is trying to hold off Shredder for the 5th spot. Shredder to the inside, neck and neck for 5th and 6th. Goes into the corner. SSR goes to the dirt. He's going to lose that spot. Just could not nail the braking. 7th place is Apex Blade. Does not seem to be really hoofing it too far. Coca Gamer has filtered his way up into the 8th spot after those early instants. The one man who I'm really interested in is the man who has DNF'd from the event, I believe. Unless I'm misunderstanding. I'm checking on the ticker. But I think FCT has DNF'd. Yeah, FCT Racing DNF'd after running out of fuel, so his race is over, sadly. As we turn our fight to the race win once more. Now they're caught behind Larry B. Larry takes an extreme outside line to not be in their way. That works out better for Derp than it does Xebot. Xebot can't really get that perfect draft going down the straight. Xebot has to run extremely wide so as not to run into Larry. So Derp holds position. So next driver they will be closing in on will be Prius Killer, who is in 15th. Xebot looking to the outside. Derp defending on the inside. This means that they take radically different lines going into and out of the bus stop chicane. Derp still holds position. Down the straight once more. There's a little bit of a gap until the number 33 comes to Prius Killer. Season 3, Ferrari Boss 237 took home the victory with SRD Shredder in second. They put everyone who was not the top 2 at least 2 laps down. It was by far the most dominant performance we have ever seen in this series, where 2 men completely demolished the rest of the grid. There was only 1 yellow flag in that race, and that was on the first lap. Afterwards, it was green to the end. And that race was a little bit longer than this one here in distance, but they also were running more power, so the length was similar. The overall length of the race and time was similar to what we're seeing right now. And you can see that fight there. Prius Killer, Tactical Fallout, Uber Nuts. They're all fighting because they know that the leaders are right there behind them. You can actually hear the fighting as well. As we ride on board with our race leader, you can see the barely lead lap traffic in that fight there. He is close. Oh! And Derp smacks the inside wall a bit. Xebot has a good exit out of the S's with the draft. He's closing in. As we ride out the back of our leader now. Oh, right there. But then on acceleration coming out, this is where it works out better for Derp. He's a little bit better on acceleration out of the bus stop chicane. But now he is held up behind lap traffic. Prius Killer, Uber Nuts flying side by side for 13th. Tactical Fallout is there in 15th as well. Now all this draft will let Derp pull away on the straight, but both lanes are blocked ahead. He can't get by, or can he? He goes to the outside, Tactical Fallout, but Tac's not going to. He gets into Prius. Prius is knocked sideways. They're nearly 3 wide. Here comes second place. He's there. He's right behind him. Tactical Fallout is blocking the inside, though. And Xebot can't do anything about it. No, or maybe he can. Xebot takes the outside. Still, he gets alongside, but lap traffic is in the way. The same lap traffic that lets Xebot get up there and get side by side prevents him from getting ahead. Now Xebot has Tactical Fallout pushing him down the straightaway. Tac not trying to push him, but he's pushing him irregardless. Derp now has to deal with Uber Nuts ahead. Xebot right there. Ooh, you can see Tactical Fallout and Prius Killer run each other wide going through 9. Xebot inside Derp taking a little bit wider line again. Xebot looking to try and find a way by your race leader, Uber Nuts, in 13th. As we follow Uber Nuts now as he goes down the straight. Out the back of his car as he watches the 2 leaders fight. Derp sends it inside. Nuts defends the inside now. And Xebot is there behind him. No yellow flags mean that the pace that these 2 have set have absolutely destroyed everything else. Now Derp's going to look to the inside. He sends it. Boy, did he send it, and he timed that well because Xebot actually got badly compromised in the process. A very high-risk, high-reward maneuver, but he made it stick. And now Derp has the biggest gap he's had on Xebot for a long time today. So with that in mind, now you look at 12th place, OTR Anonyms. He will be the next driver at risk of going a lap down. And already you can see the leaders cropping up behind him. But lap traffic for the moment has given Derp a small moment of respite. 2/3 second gap between first and second. And most of the other gaps in the field are much, much larger. Although there is this fight for 5th and 6th between Shredder and SSR. Shredder has it, SSR wants it, but these two are on different fuel numbers. Shredder will have to pit before SSR, and we know SSR can make it to the end, and only one more stop. Shredder may have to make 2 more to the end. And if so, that would be a massive boon for that Interstate Batteries Toyota. Apex Blade back there in 7th, not too far out from this battle as well. So again, fuel mileage might end up coming into play to the end of the race, but at the moment, everyone doesn't have to worry about stages. They're just trying to get to the end. Everyone knows they have at least one more stop, but how and when that one more stop falls may depend on a lot of things. And again, no yellow flags yet, but if we had a yellow flag, it would be a long, long yellow flag and would really upend the entire fuel game for most of the grid. And again, under the yellow flag, the pit road is completely closed. There is no gain around it. We could, depending on if we have a yellow flag, and when it happens, we could see drivers running out of fuel as well. So, under the safety car. So, yeah, things could get very interesting in that way. As these two continue to fight for 5th and 6th position. At the front, Derp continues to hold a position over Xebot. 3/4 of a second gap over the 88. And everyone ahead pretty much have much, much larger gaps going on. Someone just lag out again? Yeah, I think someone else just lagged out. Who was it? And that is TFB Matter, who has apparently lagged out. Rough scenario for him. Alright, and coming into the party now is TFB Matter. Matter, go ahead and include your audio. It's a travesty to see you out of this race so early, but it didn't look like it was really going your way. Walk us through the race from your perspective.
Well, the start didn't go too much as I got punted a little bit into Dino. Didn't hurt too much as I only went down a position. Got some back after multiple collisions. And was basically, if you were watching, basically just around popping anywhere through multiple pit cycles. So was trying to keep near him, was losing time to him because of mistakes, and then just internet went out and that was it.
Alright, shame to see a disconnect like this. So it looks like it won't be a very big points day for you. Do you think that you'll hopefully be able to fix your internet issues and be able to run to the end at least next week?
Oh, definitely. This is the first time it's happened on my new console, so I think it's just how it is right now. Well, but I can probably figure it out by next week.
Alright, well, I do want to say, shame to see you out, but thanks for being willing to jump in and speak with us.
You're welcome, and I'll make sure that the race next week is better than this one.
Alright, well, I've been enjoying this race at least. It's not the greatest ever, but I've been enjoying today's run. As this fight for 5th continues, Shredder has position, SSR wants it. SSR looks to the inside, but not really confident enough to send it going into 1. And there's the fight there behind them for 7th as Apex Blade trying to hold off Coca Gamer. Coca, again, involved in a lap 1 instant, is just kind of gradually working his way up through the grid. Ooh, Apex into the wall there. That was a little bit smarter of a hit than you want to have going uphill. And we see Coca closing in now down the straight. But at the front, Xebot closed once more on Derp. So the gap's closed back down. I think at this point it's obvious that Xebot is a little bit stronger than Derp. The problem is that that little bit is enough to get him behind the 33. It's not enough to get him ahead of that 33. And they're about to catch lap traffic, and that's OTR Anonymous, who is in 11th. Xebot trying to push Derp wide. Inside, side by side, Derp wider line. Xebot tighter line again. We've seen this move at least 2 other times, and each time Derp has it. Xebot wants the inside. How aggressively does Derp defend? Not too aggressively. OTR Anonymous trying to stay on the lead lap ahead. Xebot on the inside of Derp, side by side again down the straight. Contact. Derp has it. Xebot wants it. Crossover twice. Xebot on the outside, Derp on the inside into turn 1. Derp plants the car right in front of Xebot's line. Xebot looks to the outside, can't make anything there. Nose to tail as they're going uphill through the S's. Gets him sideways, gets the 33 sideways into the wall just a bit. Now Xebot's on the outside, falls back in line behind, can't get alongside. Again, OTR Anonyms just ahead is now fighting, and that's also Deedspeedman, who's going a second lap down now. And with Deedspeedman there, he will somewhat compromise Xebot's line a bit. That gives Derp a bit of a breathing room. He doesn't have to worry as much as he tries to overtake OTR Anonyms there. Well, as I say that, Xebot's almost right on Derp again. In fact, it looks like those two fought long enough that actually let OTR Anonyms hold on to that. And here's the other thing. As these drivers continue to work their way up through the grid, they're going to be having to lap slightly faster drivers, which will make it even harder and harder to properly navigate around them. That's also Tire Barrier, who will be going to second lap down. He's farther up the grid as well. So, yeah, we're about to see drivers on 3 different lap counters right now, possibly going to lap down. Also, we're almost at the point where we're going to start seeing drivers pitting again. OTR being held up by Tire Barrier, and Derp is closing in on them, and Xebot is there behind as well. Tire Barrier taking a wider line. He'll let OTR Anonyms through. But Derp's trapped on the inside. Tire Barrier is right there. Very nearly getting to it. Xebot's right there behind Derp again. Tire Barrier into the grass. Both of the leaders have a hiccup. Here comes Xebot. 3 wide for position for 2 of them. Xebot on the outside. Derp inside. Derp holds it again. Xebot's still right there behind Derp. He's right there, bumper to bumper. Fantastic racing here at Watkins Glen for the race win. Derp runs wide. Xebot to the inside. This is the best run he's had. Going through 9 for a while. Nose is ahead. Derp gets the nose back ahead, but they're still side by side a lot longer this time than before. Xebot lets out a bit, though. He doesn't want to be side by side through Derp through turn 10, apparently. And they still have not been able to catch OTR Anonyms while doing all this fighting. Xebot right there behind Derp again, nose to tail. Now he looks to the inside. He's thinking. Will he send it? He will not. He'll fall back in line behind. Now he pushes the 33 wide. Tries to cross over. Can't. Side by side again. Derp is on the outside. Xebot's on the inside. This could be it. Xebot has the run. He's got the nose ahead. Under braking. Side by side for the win. Derp back in front, but Xebot was not willing to rack up. He pulled out early. Derp knew that, capitalized, slid himself back in front, but he compromised his exit, and Xebot's there again. And this is definitely making OTR Anonyms in 11th a happy man. because these two are not closing on him or his teammate Popping while they keep fighting. They can stay on the lead lap. Xebot to the inside now, but doesn't have quite that momentum. Also, these two are going to have to pit in the next 2 laps. Xebot really putting the pressure down on Derp. Kobe is into the pits. This time, Derp had a decent run through the S's, opened up the gap just a little bit. And now they both are closing in on Anonyms just a little bit faster. Incredible fighting for the top spot right now. There's also still a fight for 5th and 6th, but we're anticipating that Shredder will likely come in and pit in the next lap or 2. Alright, so Derp and Xebot both stay out another lap. So as it stands, as we look real quickly at their fuel mileage, we are anticipating, with Xebot having 6% and TMS Derp being at a little bit more, I believe 4%. This is going to get close. Does Derp have the fuel to make it to the pit lane this lap? This could decide the race win. Does Derp have the fuel to make it to pit road? Derp leads over Xebot. Behind traffic, who's trying desperately to stay on the lead lap. That's OTR Anonyms. Nose to tail for 10th and the leader. Xebot right behind. Derp running low on fuel though. Does he have the fuel to make it to pit lane? He goes to the outside. He's going to navigate around the outside of OTR Anonyms. It's not working as well as he wanted because he's not going to have the inside. Anonyms defends his position as he is in his right to do. Runs Derp off the circuit in the process. Derp commits to pit lane. OTR Anonyms is going to stay out a little bit longer. And Derp made it in. He still is ahead of Xebot. Ooh, Deed Spearman really, really late coming into the pits. And the game says that Derp should be ahead of Xebot coming out down pit lane, so Derp maintains the race lead for the moment. We are anticipating Shredder is pitting, or is about to pit, this lap, and it will give this position to SSR for the moment. SSR stays out another lap, so a lap in clean air for him. Apex Blade there in 5th. He's coming in as well. 6th place TMS Stingray. He's already made his stop. He'll now move up to 4th. Will likely take 3rd back as well. But for the fight for the race lead, and now what will be the fight for the win, Aerocope and Popping now behind our top 2. Derp has opened up the gap once more on Xebot. We know that Derp can make it 20%, 20 laps to the end, 20 laps to the end of the stint, but barely. Xebot doesn't have to worry as much about fuel. For Xebot, I think the best idea he can do, if he can't get alongside Derp, he needs to pressure him into burning up more fuel than normal. It would be a hard task to do, but it is a possibility, because Xebot is faster than Derp by a slight amount. The thing is that slight amount is not enough for him to get ahead of Derp. Prius Killer now goes a lap down as he is making his stop. OTR Anonyms now goes a lap down to Derp and Xebot as well. So now the top 9 are the only ones on the lead lap. SSR making his stop now. He'll drop down the order, as will TMS Bum Drop a little bit farther back. So real quickly, we'll turn our focus to SRD Shredder. the man he's been fine with most of a good part of the day, in pit lane now. Will Shredder be able to get ahead of him, or will he lose time to him, or what? Winner at Daytona, the season opener, the 350. He has a great head of speed on SSR right behind him. So actually, SSR with that extra lap out there has actually ended up ahead of Shredder. Shredder has speed though, but I think SSR has the position for now. Coco Gamer has worked his way efficiently up into the 7th spot, and if he keeps up at this rate, he might catch the fight for 5th before race end. Again, the big thing is going to be fuel for the field. Who does or doesn't have the fuel to make it to the end? Also, if you're multiple laps down, you may not have to worry as much about fuel to the end because you just will be completing less laps overall. There is a end of race timer, so it's not like everyone has to complete their laps. If they're multiple laps down, you're not going to be required to run the last lap or two necessarily. So that's Dino Prime about to go a 2nd lap down here. Dino takes a wide berth. Cars are already a lap down, have to give room to the leaders. But if they're trying to stay on the lead lap, that's not as much an issue. But again, this has now kind of worked in Derp's favor because he has control of how to approach lapped traffic. Xebot just kind of has to react. That's Aiden Man, who has just come out of the pits ahead of Dino. Aiden already a lap down and will be going another lap down here. He's trying to be reasonable, but Derp caught him in a not so great part of the racetrack. Aiden has the inside. He'll back out of the throttle early, but that holds up Xebot. That might be it. That may be what Derp needs to win. Xebot, really angry, runs Aiden off the circuit to showcase his displeasure. But now that means that Aiden will be fighting with Dino Prime for that position. So for 16th spot, Dino now behind Aiden, as Aiden has just come out of pit lane. And we know Aiden can make it to the end on fuel. Dino might be a little bit more iffy. 77 on 13, a pair of Chevy cars. These two are teammates, both under the Rebel Racing banner. Aiden in the outside wall. Dino takes the inside down the straightaway. It looks like this will go to Dino, and Xebot's pulled over. Something's wrong with Xebot. I think we have a caution. Yeah, we are under the yellow flag. I did not see what happened, but we have a caution. And now everything goes out in the air. This helps Derp. This guarantees he doesn't have to worry at all about running out of fuel. But this brings a bunch of other drivers into play. And a lot of people are now going to be able to get onto the lead lap here. So under the yellow flag, now we see the top 4 have all gathered up nose to tail. And this will be a long time until the entire field is gathered up. SSR and Shredder now rushing to catch the back of the grid. And for the drivers who are a lap down, this is a chance for them to get back on the lead lap. But late race restart like, oh, and Ludacris is off in the dirt exploring for some reason. I don't know what's going on there. Does anyone elect to pit? I doubt anyone's going to pit at this point. Most everyone's good on fuel now, but has 4th, 5th, and 6th all caught each other. And now they catch the back of the grid. There's 7th place a little bit farther back. That's Coco Gamer, who has done a respectable job closing in a bit. about an hour and a half through the broadcast. I do want to say to those of you who are watching, thank you very much for sticking with us throughout today's broadcast. Apex Blades is there in 8th. 9th place should be closing in. That is lap traffic going by. That's Deed Speeman. And Dino Prime goes by as well, as will Aiden, man. Those drivers are multiple laps down, so they're just trying to get back as many laps as possible right now. OTR popping. Now we'll get back onto the lead lap, as will OTR Anonyms, who is back there in 11th. Those two had just recently gone a lap down before the yellow flag. That's Larry B, the G. He's in 12th. 13th, Prius Killer. He is now going to be able to get back on the lead lap. That's Tireberry, who's already multiple laps down, trying to go around his outside. 14th, Uber Nuts, also back on the lead lap now. But how many of these drivers will be? How long will it be until we go green flag? That's the real question. Because if we go green this lap, that will be a lot different. And someone, that's actually two someones who are pitting. And it's Dino Prime and Aiden Man both pitting under the safety car. Now that's a penalty. That means that when they come to the green flag, they will have to pit again. No, they're not pitting. They are just stopped at the pit lane entrance. So I'm guessing because those two were multiple laps down, they were waiting for the field to get by so they could take place behind these these drivers are multiple laps down. Tactical Fall, I believe, is still on the lead lap. I think Aiden is going to be trapped. Yep, Aiden is trapped a lap down. In fact, everyone from Aiden on back, Aerocope, Tire Barrier, Dino Prime, and Deed Speeman, they are all one lap down right now. So the top 15 are back on the lead lap. Everyone else is a single lap down at this point. And the field's going to be gathered up very shortly here, so we should be going to the green flag coming onto start lap 69, so it will be a 13-lap sprint to the end here. Yeah, 13-lap sprint to the end. Fuel will not be an issue at this point, though. Well, it may be for some people in the very, very far back who are making really early stops, but for the most part, fuel will not be a concern for race winners. We have run enough or race leaders, or the guys who will factor for the win. We have run enough laps into the safety car that they will easily have been able to make it far. Historically, Watkins Glen is clean and green, or doesn't have a whole lot, or has a lot of yellow. Today, it's been one of the clean and green races, but there is a possibility we just have a lot of yellow to the end. I kind of hope that's not the case, but that is a possibility. TMS Derp took the pole, has led almost all the laps. Missed leading the lap at the end of the first stage, though. But he is trying to go pole to win here. Xebot in second, though, has been a little bit faster, but not yet fast enough to get by him. Maybe now, on a restart, will he be able to get by? They come out of the final corner, and we should be seeing the green flag as the leader hits the line. Yep, there we are. Blue Juice pits farther back, so pit road's open. That means that racing is on. And TMS Stingray takes a dive bomb on Xebot going into one. And that is perfect. Ludicrous Speed takes a very, very wide line farther back there. He's trying to find something. Derp's right off with it now. Stingray fighting with with Xebot. They're into the wall. And Stingray's into the wall. And now Derp's into the wall. Ludicrous Speed's into the wall. Apex Blade's into the wall. A bunch of chaos going on near the back of the grid. It looks like most of the rear of the field got away without too much issue, though. But chaos throughout. There's that 18 and the 23 going off circuit farther back, having trouble navigating. But this means that Derp will likely be a race winner because he has already opened up a massive gap on second place. Not just that, second place is now TMS Stingray. A very dirty dive bomb into turn one. He just turned that right into running Xebot basically right off the circuit. And now teammates running 1-2. But SSR, who won the first stage, is now there behind, giving pressure for second. Z-Bot right there behind SSR. And now Ludacris goes off circuit. For any championship hopes he had, that will lose him a bunch of positions and will really hurt him. Now that's OTR Popping and Coco Gamer trying to barrel down on him. Coca side by side for a moment with Popping. Couldn't get by him though. Z-Bot still behind SSR, but not able to figure out a way to get by him, it seems. Looks to the inside, thinks better of it. And OTR Anonyms, who was a lap down earlier, is now up there in the 5th spot. Uphill through the S's. You stay flat out through this section of the circuit. Z-Bot has a run on SSR this time. Looks to the inside. Will it be enough? It will not be. SSR gets in the way. They're side by side, and now Anonyms is there. Contact for 4th. Z-Bot may be fast, but he just does not seem to be able to master any sort of overtakes as ludicrous speed, and Anonyms gets side by side, going through there, barely keep the car straight. Ludacris fighting back with Anonyms for that 5th spot. Not done with it yet, my goodness. Number 20, Home Depot Chevrolet, really putting the pressure on that Ford. Z-Bot now on the outside of SSR, farther up, as they go uphill through the S's, but he has to pull out of it. Anonyms into the wall. Ludacris gonna capitalize. He looks to the outside, and he does have the momentum. He'll get that position. 5th goes back to Ludacris. Anonyms sends it on the inside, though, going into the S's. Z-Bot's by SSR. Ludacris let Anonyms back by, though. Didn't want to wreck the two of them going into the bus stop chicane. So Anonyms has the spot. Ludacris on the inside, though. Not done with it yet. 9 laps to go when the leader hits the line. Z-Bot back up into 3rd, but SSR is not laying him by easy. Ludacris is, again, we're seeing this time and time again. The faster car gets caught behind. The racing line is so important that there's really, there are other lines you could take, but ideally you just want to have that racing line. The leading car in a fight has all the advantage. This has been a very defensive-focused race. Unless your speed differential is massive, like what we've seen with Coco Gamer, who's been making his way up through the grid after being involved in instance early. Now Anonyms gets to the inside of SSR, sends it on Z-Bot, or tries to at least, going into the bus stop chicane. But all that does is hold up Anonyms and SSR. Now Ludacris dives to the inside of that 54. Those two car paint schemes at least were former teammates in the Cup Series. No love lost here in OSRL. SSR now is the odd man out, pushed back to 6 as Ludacris again is trying to fight back against OTR Anonyms. Ludacris gets a little bit aggressive, but gets run to from behind by that 54 Interstate Batteries Toyota. And as that Chevy and Toyota fight, the Ford gets away just a bit. Z-Bot has worked his way up into 3rd now. But we are running out of laps fast, and there's still another driver between Z-Bot and the race leader. At this point, I think Z-Bot sadly will have to settle for a 3rd place finish, as he is more than 2 seconds out from 2nd right now. Farther back, OTR Popping, trying to hold 7th over Coco Gamer. Tactical Fallout back there in 9th. 7 laps to go at the moment. Popping holding point over Coca Gamer. Most of the field's kind of single-filed out right now. With this man here, SRG Shredder, the yellow flag has been a disaster for him. He was contending for a top 5. He has now fallen back to 10th. And he's behind Tactical Fallout, who earlier was a lap down. So Shredder absolutely not happy with this final restart and how it has played out, to say the least. When we start lap 80 of 81, the last 2 laps will be run under green flag automatically. Now, if we have a yellow that comes out before that, they will make every precaution necessary to run the last lap under green. But realistically, think of just the last 2 laps of this race. They will run under green flag conditions, irregardless of what happens on the racetrack. TMS Bum Drop has closed in a bit on Shredder. As Tack is really sideways coming out of that final corner. Shredder has the momentum. But he's not going to be close enough going into 1, or is he? He looks, he thinks of it. Tack just moves over a bit of a way to block the inside. Just make Shredder think twice of it, and that 10 car does. Well, the driver of that 10 car does. Shredder looking to the inside of Tactical Fallout, side by side, sitting it into the bus stop chicane. Shredder's by, but then it has to cut through the grass afterwards and will lose that position. He'll fall behind Tack, fall behind Bum Drop as well. This has just not been good. Again, whoa, Tactical Fallout really, really wide. Coming out of 9, he'll maintain the position, obviously, but Christ, that was wide. Drop, Shredder, get into each other there in 10, and now Prius Killer is steaming up. He wants a piece of this. Shredder will try and use this to stay ahead of Bum Drop now. Contact behind knocks Bum Drop down to 12th now, as Shredder again has to try and gather his wits to go after Tactical Fallout once more. But this race has been almost a pure defense race. You lead in a battle, you have all the cards. Even if a faster driver is behind, the difference in speed that you need to properly overtake the guy ahead has been massive. OTR Anonyms has filtered up into 4th. Considering he was a lap down earlier, this could end up being a massively positive windfall for him. 5th place, this is ludicrous speed. He's been hanging out in the top 5 on merit today, and the drivers he's been fine with have come and gone throughout. But he, he's the vet. He's obviously runs the series, but he's been keeping up here on merit. There's not exactly been any, unfair bias keeping him here. He's been in the top 5 most of the day on merit. It's just kind of a shame that due to his poor fuel strategy, he did not take home any stage points. And then you have 6th place SSR, who won that first stage, and then also took 3rd in that 2nd stage. He's not going to finish quite that high, but I'm sure a 6th place finish for him would be considered a relatively positive scenario. Bum Drop now gets by Prius Killer for 11th farther back. Larry the BG is trying to make something happen as well in the fight. But something has gone wrong for him. He has moved over, and that's letting some of the lap cars actually sneak by now. That's Aiden Man, who is a lap down. He will move by. Aiden's trying to stay ahead of everyone else who is a lap down, so that's mainly Dino right now. So that's an interesting battle, because it looks like Aiden's going to outdo his teammate here in today's race. Contact between Bum Drop and Aiden. Again, those two are not on the same lap, but it doesn't look like it's going to matter that much. Aiden inside of Bum Drop. He's trying to get by him. He wants to put more cars between himself and Dino, but Larry the BG is doing a good job holding Dino off as well. Farther up for 8th and 9th position, Shredder has caught Coca Gamer. Coca filtering his way up through the grid after being involved in early, and since Shredder worked his way from about 9th up to as high as 4th for a moment, then dropped down the grid, He's trying to finish better than where he started. OTR Popping is right there as well, really compromising. This is a three-way fight for position. Shredder on the outside of Coca Gamer, side by side, neck and neck. Tactical Fallout is their attempt, ready to capitalize if something goes wrong. Shredder has the inside line. Coca Gamer has the outside line. Going into 10. Shredder has the track advantage entering, but Coca is good enough fighting back. He'll have the advantage in the following corner. Popping slower than both of them. There's 3 wide going down the straight. And Popping ran out of fuel. Popping had to pit. So Coca now has 7th, Shredder 8th, Tac 9th, and now Prius Killer and 10th is filtering into this. 2 laps to go. Whatever happens, happens. There will be no more yellows to the end of this race. Tactical Fallout, Prius Killer fighting for 9th and 10th back there. That's good for Shredder. That means he might be able to muster 1 or 2 last shots on Coca Gamer. Prius ahead of Tac now as he focuses on Shredder. That Ford pushing the Chevy. Shredder taking a much, much wider line out of 9 that time. Slightly different line, Shredder a little bit tighter through there. White flag is in the air. Bum drop now gets by Tactical Fallout. Tac has had an incident. Tac has to pit. Tac's run out of fuel. I repeat, Tac has run out of fuel. At the front, this man here, TMS Derp, dominated this race. Not easily, though. He had fighting from Exebot, but on a restart, some controversial moves from his teammate ensured that Derp would have no fighting to the end. Second place, TMS Stingray. He's run in the top 4 most of this race, and it looks like a second place finish for him. Third place, Exebot. He's going to have to settle for third after running second and fighting for the win most of the day. Fourth place, OTR Anonyms, a lap down early. He's going to recover miraculously to 4th. And Ludicrous Speed will come home 5th, about where he was supposed to, but no stage points means that he will actually lose ground to this man here, SSR, who won the first stage, come home 3rd in the second one. Coca Gamer in 7th, trying to hold off Shredder. Last corner, last lap. Can Shredder do anything? The answer, no. Nose to tail. Coca Gamer will take home 7th. Shredder 8th. Prius Killer 9th. TMS Bum Drop will come home in the 10th spot. 11th will go to Larry the BG. Then Uber Nuts, Apex Blade, OTR Popping, Tactical Fallout, Dino Prime, Aiden Man, Deets. Well, yeah, Dino Prime got by Aiden apparently. I didn't notice, but Dino Prime, well, actually, no, these two are still fighting. So this is still an active fight for position. It's the last lap. This is the last fight for points paying position in the race. Aiden and Dino making contact, and they have to worry about guys who are now on their cooldown lap. Dino gets run to the dirt, loses the position to Aiden. Aiden holding it, Dino wants it. This is their last lap. Oh, and Dino just cuts through the dirt, and he'll get by Aiden. And now Aiden gets into the inside of Dino's. They run Prius off the circuit. They're still fighting. Aiden back ahead of Dino. Aiden holding spot over Dino on the run down to the end. Dino really wide there in turn 10. And he's not going to get it. Aiden's gone. We're trying to get some of our winners and high finishers into the party, hear what they have to say about a very interesting race. Come on, please tell us we can get the TMS guys in here. All right, well, Derp is in here at least. All right, and coming into the party right now is TMS Derp. Derp, go ahead, include your audio. Fantastic victory out there. What do you have to say about your run today?
I'm speechless. That my teammate Zbot, he really pushed me for those 60 odd laps that we were together, and then that late race restart didn't work out for him, and I was able to just pull away.
And you can say that dominated the race. Although sadly you ended up missing out winning on the first stage, you still took pole stage 2 victory in a very slow drag race to the start-finish line in the pit lane, and then the race win itself. So a great points day for you.
Yeah. So hopefully I can continue it next week.
All right, one last question though. That yellow flag comes out. Were you more or less confident about your chances of winning when that happened?
Probably less. I wasn't very happy that happened, but it happened, so can't really do much about it.
Well, thankfully for you in the end, it seemed to not really upset anything too much, but still crazy run to the end, but a dominant run for you today. Outstanding job, mate.
Thank you.
All right, well, that is the word from your race winner, TMS Derp. Now, we also want to go ahead and talk real quickly with our second place finisher, Stingray, if he will join. There he is. All right, please tell me he can join so we can hear him. All right, now coming into the party is TMS Stingray, your second place finisher. Stingray, go ahead, include your audio. 1-2 finish for your team. You came home second after running top 4 most of the day. What do you have to say about your run?
There's not much to it, to be fair. I was in a world of my own the entire race, and then the restart came along and took my chance, and that's that, I guess. But happy with the second. I don't think I could have got much better.
All right, well, great run. Made a really aggressive move on Xebot there. He kind of caught you on that final lap. Do you think if the race went another lap or two, do you think you could have held him off?
Probably not, no. No, I just didn't have pace in the car today.
All right, well, good job here regardless. Bringing home second. Great run for you, mate. And now we
Cheers.
also want to go ahead talk to our third place finisher, Xebot. Xebot, you spent a long time today looking at the back of Derp's machine. Second most of the day. In the end, you have to settle for third. What do you have to say about your run today?
Yeah, it was a good race with it, and yeah, I just want to apologise to him for the contact at the hill. Just completely caught me off guard, but apart from that, it was an amazing battle. Caution came out, thought, oh yeah, it's all good. Could probably battle him with him at the restart. Then yeah, going into turn 1, wasn't quite expecting that from my teammate, but racing. Then yeah, tried a bit of a desperate lunge at the final corner, but didn't quite come off. So yeah, well, not a bad day.
All right, well, irregardless, podium finish, good finish in the stages as well. This will be great for you in the points. Do you think you can, continue this or even better this going into the next few races?
I mean, that's the plan. Yeah, I kind of see Derp as my rival for this season, which obviously him outscoring me, not quite according to plan, but again, great rival to have, so hopefully we can continue this throughout the season.
All right, well, once again, podium finish. Great job, mate, and thanks for being willing to jump in and talk with us. We also want to go ahead and talk with our fourth place finisher. That would be OTR Anonyms. At least I saw him cross the line in fourth in the, yeah, okay, good. Anonyms, go ahead, include your audio. You were a lap down at one point in the event, ended up circling back around, finishing in the top 5. How in the world did you do that?
Honestly, I just don't know, starting last from missing out on qualifying. I'm not really in the state to be either talking or staying awake at the moment, massive headache and kind of getting...
He was drunk all the time!
I was not drunk. No, I was not that drunk, honestly. Did drink a few bit. I mean, I spent the entire day drinking for a friend's birthday. Don't drive and drink
Ludacris
in real life.
Ludicrous, doesn't the series have rules saying that you're not allowed to race if you're intoxicated?
If you do cause
That's
any
something
damage,
I forgot to write down, but if you do start causing damage because...
did I cause any damage? Apart from nearly taking myself out and my own teammate, who, because he's my own teammate, I know he is.
My controllers...
Well, irregardless,
My controller's having a stroke.
irregardless, OTR Anonyms, I think you should probably change your name to OTR James Hunt with that drive, considering you start from the back and was a lap down, and despite being drunk and hungover, still come home in
got
a
lucky.
top 4 position.
It's just, honestly, it's just pure luck, because at the restart I was never expecting restarting like something like P10. Never expected from P10 or P11 to be up into P4 by the end of the race, but then, I don't know, what I saw actually at the restart was exactly what happened with Popping and myself. People going too wide up the S's and just sliding out and losing a ton of speed. There was almost a crash actually, I think it was between Coca and 2 other people, I don't remember who. So yeah, it
Well.
was just tough and a lot of luck.
Well, now the question is, do you think you could have done better if you were sober?
I don't know. Really, I don't think so. Not really comfortable with the
Alright.
car, so...
Alright, well, I appreciate your honesty at least. Still, 4th place finish, this coupled with the great run you had at Daytona. It's been a good start to the season for you. Hopefully, things continue going well for you going forward, mate.
It's a lot of up and down, to be honest. Like, P2, then I'm like almost last at Homestead, I'm like P15 or something. Then now I'm P4. So not a lot of consistency at the moment.
Alright, well, irregardless, 4th place, great run for you, Anonyms. I do want to say thanks for being willing to jump in and talk with us despite the hangover. Now we want to go ahead and talk with our 5th place finisher, Ludicrous Speed. Ludicrous, good news, top 5, you ran top 5 for almost every lap in the race. The bad news, the laps that you weren't in the top 5 were at the end of the stages, so no stage points for you. What do you have to say about your run today?
I mean, I was going kind of for the long run. Seeing where the leaders were pitting and doing some quick math in my head, I figured they may be a lap or 2 short on fuel at the end. And I knew I wasn't going to catch them. Those guys had this trek down to the letter. I mean, everything I tried to do, I'd end up, sliding around, missing shifts, stuff like that. I don't know where they found the pace, but they did. But towards that last fuel run, I decided to just start fuel saving like crazy, try to eke out another lap or 2, seeing what US MTP was doing. And I figured, well, he's way back there, so if I start, don't clip that. If we start,
Oh my god.
fuel saving and dropping pace to everybody behind me, well, he's 4,000 feet behind me, and they're not going to be able to go all the way to the end, so I figured maybe I'd eke one out, but then that yellow came out and threw that out the window. So, I mean, that's the second week in a row now I play the long run, and it doesn't work out, but, I mean, we'll see where we are at the end of points.
Alright, well, interesting race to say the least, and you did have good pace, highest finisher of all of the OSRL veterans as well, so good job on that part.
That doesn't make me feel any better. I'm fired.
Alright, well, now we want to go ahead and turn our focus to our 5th place finisher, SSR. SSR, incredible race from you. Didn't finish quite as high as you want, but considering you won a stage and took home 3rd in the other one, this was a great points day windfall. Walk us through your race.
That stage 1 was a full-on gamble because I had ran out down the backstretch. So that was a flat-out gamble. But when I made it to the pits, I had enough gas to run like an extra lap or 2 compared to where I was pitting. But the leaders were just way too quick, so no matter what my gamble was, it wasn't going to be enough.
Alright, well, irregardless, great run for you today. after you ran out, winning that first stage, you fell all the way back to 8th and still clawed your way back up through the grid a bit. That was honestly pretty impressive in itself.
Yeah, I had top 5 pace, but not top 4 pace. They were just way too quick for me.
Well, in the end, I hope at least you'd be happy with a 6th place finish.
It's better than the first 2 races, that's for sure.
All right. Well, can you maintain this momentum going through the rest of the next several road courses in the season, though?
Yeah, I think I can.
All right. Well, confidence. I like it. All right. Well, SSR, not quite top 5, but a stage win and some good racing in general brings you home a great bundle of points today. Thanks for being willing to jump in and talk with us.
Yes, sir.
All right. We also want to talk to our 7th place finisher, Coca Gamer. Coca barely stayed ahead of Shredder at the line, but that doesn't really tell us the story of your entire race. You were caught up in a lap 1 instant, got knocked way out of the top 10, and clawed your way back up near the front. Walk us through the race from your perspective.
Man, yeah, I mean, that was pretty insane. I just didn't know, like, when I got down to 15th, that was, I would say, yeah, within the first 2 laps. I got my car dialed in. I stopped making mistakes for that short amount of time, and I got around a few cars to get up into the top 10 within, I would say, around 10 or 15 laps. But just kept in there. I pit a little bit earlier than everyone else just to get those fresher tires, just because I kind of thought there was going to be a caution, and I was right. So I kept pitting early to get those fresh tires, hot lap times. And because of that, I kept gaining time in the pits, which is great. And so, yeah, I just think that this track overall, I mean, throughout the midsection and the end, I mean, this track is just frustrating, to be honest with you. A lot of the guys, you know, it's not hard to be fast here. A lot of the guys are consistent with each other. I mean, to a lot of people, this is their favorite track, so it's just like, that's just the nature of it. Anyway, yeah, this track is just super frustrating, and you know, it's whatever. I hopefully it's not the same for all the upcoming road courses. So
All right. Well, you made a good job crawling back up to a nice 7th place finish. I do want to ask though, if you weren't involved in that early first lap instance, do you think you could have finished much higher up the grid?
I would say around maybe top 5, and the reason why is just because I never got the chance to be with that front pack, but at the same time the top 4 seemed to just completely check out from the rest of the field, so that kind of is a little bit of a issue for my sake, because I was kind of on the same pace as Ludacris at the ending there, along with Shredder and stuff like that, and that kind of made me think, like, if it was a restart and I was in like 6th or something like that for that caution, I'm sure I would have a lot better of a chance to get in the top 5 there. But our mobile mini Ford did okay today. Just couldn't really find the pace with the leaders, as in like the top 2, top 4. So yeah.
All right. Well, Coca, good job bringing it back up to around the area you started. Great time watching you crawl up through the field.
Thank you.
We also want to go ahead talk with Shredder, who ended up finishing the 8th position. Shredder, go ahead and include your audio. Rough day for you, to say at least, considering you were top 5 on pace most of the day, but that final restart seemed to kill your run. What do you have to say about your race today?
I mean, well, issues started before qualifying. Like, I go on PC, so the way I use controllers, I use a cable, but the old controller, it was just disconnecting left, right, and center. So I had to kind of bomb over up somewhere, grab a new controller from somewhere else in the house, plug that in. It seemed to work. Did qualifying, it seemed alright there. Seemed a little bit off. Then got to the race, and by lap 2 or 3 or so, I realised that it was the left stick was not doing anything. It was on 85% steering. I had nowhere near full potential steering. So from the get-go, I was not gonna do much. I mean, I've started throwing out things like, I mean, 7, 8s, 9s or something, when I was saying I wanted 7 1s in practice. So yeah, did all that. and then it started adjusting itself mid-race, which really didn't help. So I came into the pits, lowered the dead zone quite dramatically. Also, in the pits, really annoying. My pit stop was before the line, so I don't think I stopped at any stage.
You got a stage point in the first stage.
Yeah, but then the second one, because
Yeah.
I stopped loading. Yeah, okay. Which that's annoying, and then sort of chasing down SSR. I'm not just trying to not punt him off with the situation I was having. Did a few passes, he stayed with, then the caution happened. The caution didn't happen, I think, because I was sick right up there.
Mhm.
Some people ahead, it was sort of half and half on whether they actually finish on fuel. So we did green, probably got a fourth or a third at the end, depending on who and if I stay ahead of SSR. And then on the restart, I got going into one, got a tap on coke at the exit, got loose, had to sort of correct and whatnot. Lost about 2-3 positions, went to the S's, then got connected with 87 person, can't remember his name, whatchamacallit it. And then that put me back to 15th, which is horrific start, 16th to 15th from 4 corners. So I had to beans it past everyone. And then the control decided to change what was doing the steering for the third time, for whatever good reason. So I was sending it up corners and sort of into the bus stop, sending it up there, and just wasn't doing anything like I was hoping. So I smacked into tack once, and gave the position back up straight away, straight after, and nearly lost the position behind as well. Then fought them back. Could have got coke at the last bit, but I spun the tyres up very slightly in the final corner. Couldn't get to it.
Alright, rough run. Obviously, the question is, are you going to get a new controller to fix your current issues, and do you think you can have a better run next week?
I'm hoping I can get a new controller that works, because the controller that I picked up hadn't been used, but more or less gets used. I don't know, it's been damaged, and he uses Xbox about like once every 6 months, so it's never used, and it was playing up, so God knows what's going to happen if we get a new one. Hoping for a good one. And next race, open for better luck with restarts if we haven't.
Alright, well, rough finish to a rough race for you, but you still come home with a respectable run, although this will not help your championship bid. Thanks for being willing to talk with us, though. Alright, we also want to go ahead and turn our focus even further down the order. We want to talk real quickly to Tactical Fallout. Tactical, it was a rough day for you, kind of stuck in the middle of a giant clump of cars for a large part of the day to the end. Walk us through the race from your perspective when you had to pit in those last few laps due to fuel issues.
Well, in my testing, I was able to run 19.5 to 20 laps on a tank. And during the race, I was about a lap short than that. I don't know what changed. I just assumed the engine was just drinking more fuel than it was normally doing it, because I noticed I was pitting like a lap earlier than almost the whole field, besides the people who were pitting early just to do strategy. I don't know, my car was just guzzling fuel this race. I don't know what was up with that, but I mean, it is what it is. It shot this race in the foot. I mean, I was hoping I gained enough fuel, but my calculations I thought I had was I'd run out a lap before the race, probably more like 3 laps before the race with just the issue we were having. And unfortunately, just ended up pitting when I didn't want to. I was really hoping I could have got a top 10 out of that restart, because I know I'm quick on restarts, but it's just, you know, long runs, they just kill me because I just don't have the pace at road courses, unfortunately.
Alright, well, you were at least relatively active, fighting on track. Hopefully, going forward, you'll be able to have a more respective finish in the following races this season. And hopefully you've plugged that hole in the fuel tank as well.
Yeah, hopefully.
Alright, well, that's the word from Tactical Fallout. Rough day, bad fuel economy, brings him down 15th. We also want to go ahead and talk to our 16th place finisher, Aidenman 2005. Aiden, even worse race for you. Just kind of caught a lap down, caught multiple laps down, and never got back on the lead lap. But man, that fight you had with Dino to the very end of your race was incredible. Walk us through the race from your perspective.
From the start, I already knew disaster was going to hit. Starting 13th in the 13th car, that's never going to go right. Lap 1 in the carousel got spun out, and then I just dropped all the way back. Couldn't catch up because I just couldn't keep the car together. And then the S's were the worst. We kept on drifting through there, which wasn't fun. But the very end, I laced a caution. There was a little bit of confusion, but I get some positions back. It was a good fight with Dino, I will admit that. The last lap shouldn't have happened in my opinion. There's just a whole bunch of finished cars that we had to weave in and out of, which was not fun in the slightest. But yeah, I'm happy I at least finished better than I did at Homestead. Wish I could have done better, because I know I could have. But I'll take what I can get at this point. I'm already going to be in the back of the point standings anyways.
Alright, well, regardless, might not have been a great finish, but at least watching you, what little bit I could see, it was some great racing that you put on for us today.
Alright, thanks, man.
Alright, one more driver to talk to, Deed Speedman. Deed, rough race. First guy a lap down, just kind of stuck there most of the day. What was up today? Was it just bad strategy, lack of pace? What was it?
I think it was a mix of everything, really. I've been struggling trying to figure out this car in general. I don't know, I guess it just wasn't where I wanted to be today, but all in all, it was a fun debut for me. So I'm just trying to stay positive. Hope I can do better next time.
Alright, well, you did, at least out of a 22-car field, you did come home 18th. May have been last of the runners, but, hey, you did make it to the end at least, so there's some credit to be had in that.
Indeed.
And then also, real quickly, Dino continues to insist to not have a mic because he's a pain in the... But I will go ahead and briefly say what he did send a message to me about. He said that outside of pit strategy issues, he honestly didn't know what he was doing. He said he had decent pace, but was not able to keep it consistently due to dirty air and the car just being very random with what it was doing. But, irregardless, that's basically everyone I was able to get interviews with. I couldn't get everyone, sadly, but we got a decent range of people from the finishers to the people near the back of the grid. In a week's time, we'll be doing our next race. I believe that's at Circuit of the Americas. It's either there or at Infineon. I'll have to check. But next week, about the same time, we'll be covering the 4th race of the season, another road course. It's COTA? Okay, yep, Circuit of the Americas next week. So get ready and tune in for that.